Hello, this is Terry Baker. Terry Baker has chosen to have a me year, and she wanted to find herself in a fresh way in a new season. And I'm going to let her describe some of what that looked like and how she utilized self-mastery to be a part of that, and then what that's giving her as she goes into her next year. So, Terry, if you can kind of describe what even drew you to a process of self-mastery.
Well, I know that we all begin a year with all these great New Year's resolutions. And I was just a person that had just moved to Lakewood Ranch. We had built a new home. I'd been a lifelong Ohio resident. And all of a sudden, I'm in a new state. I'm in a new home. My husband and I had ran a business for 40 years. We had sold it and retired. And suddenly I am really trying to find myself. And it made me feel a little bit awkward, a little bit maybe inferior. All of the connections and stuff that I'd had that once kind of gave me, um, energy was suddenly not there anymore. So I had, as a person that was retired, I looked into a life coach, life coaches. I looked primarily on the internet, and I was looking for somebody that was local. Yes, we could meet online and do the Zoom thing, but also that if there was the opportunity, we could meet in person as well. And after a pretty extensive search and talking to a couple different people, I wound up with Self Mastery and Katie, who has just actually been the perfect person that I needed at the perfect time. So anyway, one of the things as part of this me year was basically figuring out who I was, whether or not I was going to work as far as a part-time job. Our church is very important to us. Was we going to find that right church and connect to the church? What were the things that gave me energy? What was the things that was part? How was I going to connect in this new community as I'd always lived in towns and always felt this drive to give back? And Katie helped me to be able to see that in myself. First of all, we dealt initially with probably some of my insecurities. And as we worked through those, through some of her testing and stuff, I discovered that I might be retired, but I still was very much an entrepreneur. And I still wanted to be able to do things in a positive way and basically make things grow. And I especially learned that I still also very much like to see the numbers. And so that was a part of it. And through some of her testing, this whole idea of entrepreneurship really come out strongly. And the other side was that I really enjoyed being around and helping people. So through that, as part of it, then I looked to about taking care of myself, which was, health and wellness. I looked at what kind of things could I do to give back, whether it was through my church or whether it was in the community. And then there was this whole side where for 40 years, my husband and I had ran a business together and we loved it. It was like he was president, I was vice president. He did one group of things and I did another group of things. And we really learned to defer to each other. Well, suddenly we're not going to be in business together anymore. That's not part of who we are. And he's going one direction and I'm going another. And we're still very married and love each other dearly, but our lives are not going to be quite as intertwined, especially as it comes to volunteering and working. So as we was trying to work through that loss of identity, through this year, through our conversations, I have basically been able to figure out today who I am and very much more confident in what I'm doing. I really do. I'm going to embrace or have embraced that entrepreneurial spirit. I am currently doing some work with my church, which I love. I've taken time this year to through some workshops and training that really are probably one was in caregiving, another one was basically talking about racial reconciliation and basically took some studies and developed some friends and strengthened my faith through this year. I have developed friends in my community development and just recently interviewed to basically work with our finance team on an HOA board, which some people would say, oh my gosh, not me. But I hate to say it, once I sat down with those financial statements, I was in heaven. I love doing that kind of work. I have developed a close circle of friends that I think have similar identities to what I have, which we spend some time doing some fun things together. I'm learning to be part of the community. And part of that was, if I'm going to be part of this community, I'm going to give back to this community. And I've done some volunteering with Mothers Helping Mothers and also have joined Stream, which is a social justice organization here in the community. I can tell you that the person that now we started in February, got underway. And now we're sitting in here in November, which is what, 9 months later. And I was on the 20, as I said, told her, I said, I was on the 20-week plan that turned into 30 or 30 plus, and really have enjoyed greatly our time. She has pushed my buttons at times. She has urged me on. She's made me clarify what I meant. She's made me think through and do exercises. But the truth is today I'm a much better person and much more confident. And I love living here today. And I really look forward to what's going to develop in 2025, which is going to be partially a new small business. It's going to work out of my house and my work with my church and probably working with my HOA in some capacity, as well as just enjoying life and retirement. And that has been what this me year has been all about.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Terry. It is so true. You have really aligned, and I can see 2025 really a place for you to blossom. I have a couple key questions because I've watched you in this journey, and you mentioned some things that really stand out to me. You distinguish the difference between when we're not quite aligned, when we're a little bit off balance, it actually breeds some inferiority, right? Because we're questioning who we are and how we're meant to operate. And can you distinguish the difference between not quite in alignment yet and in alignment and how that really serves someone's confidence?
Well, I can tell you one thing. You're a lot more sensitive, when you're not in
Mhm.
an alignment. And things that typically would not bother you, if you get said, you kind of internalize them and take them and, what do you ruminate on them, I guess would be the word. And they let you get you down a little bit more than I think. Compared to when you're confident in yourself, those things might roll off your back a little bit easier and you recognize and it's just the fact that people are people and we're all going through issues at the same time and maybe what that person said that threw me off balance a little bit actually was things that they themselves was going through. So I begin to think more about not just my feelings, but maybe the other person as well. So I think when you're a little bit more confident, when you're a little more stable, those small things don't necessarily bother you quite as much. So
And actually, I think some of that comment was around some of the things that you are actually bringing forth to life in your new business. Some of the comments were even around style and whatnot, and it kind of, but you actually are now finding your strength in that.
yes, yes.
And because you're leaning into your strength, those things don't bother you as much. You have purpose, you have intention.
In several years ago, it's probably maybe even a decade, I read a book that really stuck with me. And it was about invisibility, and it was particularly women of a certain age that become invisible as they go through the aging process. And that really has worried me. Stop. And it's one of the things that as I am kind of working through this business that I'm working through is hopefully going to help women who might otherwise feel invisible, that basically maybe it's with style, maybe it's how you dress according to your weight, maybe it's having a circle of friends. There's a large Facebook presence where women of like mind are communicating with each other and just basically saying, you really look good today, or, complimenting one another, in what they're doing. And I think this whole idea of seeing the positives. And I think in this world where it's like, it seems like there are so many negatives, that there's this opportunity of us to be positive and lifting people up rather than dragging people down.
I
So,
get that. Now, again, with the process of life coaching, when we signed up with me, I said, hey, we're going to go over a number of months, right? Because I want to see
mhm.
this actually come to pass in your life. And it's going to take just more than a couple moments, a couple key ideas. It's going to take making those ideas come to life. And so could you share the value of that commitment to be committed over a period of time to do the work?
Well, I'm in a perpetual learner anyway, so I love learning and I love to be pushed. I really um, like uh, I like to have goals, and for me, it works very well in my life. And for me, I liked having, especially in the beginning, when I as I was trying to sort through that Katie, we'd work up a list of things that I was going to work on from one session to the next. And at one point in time, we were going once a week. Then we stretched out and started going every other week, where you had time to really concentrate, think about it, um, mull it over. If you needed to look up or get some information, then you could do that as well. I really like the longer format of taking. In fact, I interviewed with a couple different life coaches, and it was a matter of being on and off for, maybe you got together 4 times, maybe you got together 6 times. I really like the fact that this one was 20, because I thought the same thing. I needed a long period of time to work through. I couldn't fix myself in a couple months.
It gives you that time to also take action and then get some
Hmm.
reflection. And it's because what we want is to see the life change, right? We don't want to just
Right.
couple good ideas. We want the life, and you're just really resonating with how much you've aligned and then integrated into these elements of community. The other piece of it was, you really found this entrepreneurial spirit. And another thing that I offer is the entrepreneurial evolution. And so you
Hmm.
were able to meet some other entrepreneurs, and even at that time you were kind of like, I don't know, is this me? And then you're like, okay, yeah, I think this is. And so you're in a group called even with other entrepreneurs that are really stirring and reinforcing what it looks like to be an entrepreneurs today, to be people who are bringing vision to pass. So what do you enjoy about being part of a group that's kind of stirring that entrepreneurial spirit?
Well, I think it's the conversation and the dialogue, and just like right now, we're working on a statement, and that statement is what you're going to get done by basically the end of the year, and what are the steps that it's going to take to get you to that goal by the end of the year. And not only to basically know it yourself, but to verbalize and express it to somebody else, it puts teeth in it that makes you say, no, I'm committed to doing this, and I'm going to do it. And these are the steps I need. I told so and so I was going to do this, so I'm going to do it. So it just adds a little bit more teeth to it. And
Yeah.
it's kind of a joy, because maybe when I said, "Hey, I'm going to do a business related to fashion," and it's like, "What?" And maybe one person doesn't, we each have something very distinct And we got to realize the thread of entrepreneurship runs through the whole thing. It's just that we're called in a different directions, and we give validity to whatever it is that each one of us are being called to do. So
So, Terrie, what would you say to someone who's maybe a little bit uncertain? They're thinking about maybe they're thinking about like I'm out of alignment or I'm in a new season. I'm not sure. Maybe I'd get some coaching. Maybe I wouldn't. What do you think would help them? What would they maybe need to hear to know that this could be a good step for them?
well, number one, they have to realize that while yes, you can, guide and urge to do things, they've got to want to do it themselves. That this is about having conversation, but then they've got to set their own goals and they got to work their plan, basically. And that it's just like anything, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So I think that's really the important part is that willingness or, intensity of knowing that you need to do things or act on it, because we can sit here and have a conversation or a meeting together today, but if I don't think about it, talk about it, do something about it, create a plan, work on it, be till the next time, all we're going to do is just have conversations. So part of the moving forward is the work I do in between.
Yes. And I think too, what's important to know is you didn't have all your answers. You didn't come in going, this is what I know I want to do.
No.
Right. You came in.
Well, especially on the job for 3, 4 months, we were figuring on that I was going to go work for somebody else. But the truth is, I had always worked for myself. So suddenly working for another person and having no voice in how they operated didn't necessarily appeal to me. And what it realized is I still had the capability to create. And I decided I wanted to create a business. So,
Yes. And you don't necessarily need to know what you want to do. You just need to know that I'm willing to engage. I'm hungry enough to do some work, to reflect, to take some action, and to have maybe sometimes challenging conversations so that I can figure it out along the way. And
yes.
so I'm so glad. Thank you, Terrie, for jumping in and demonstrating to many people what's possible in retirement. You're up to so much, really. You see, you're very energized, and 2025 will be a great year to blossom and influence the community with all the things that you're passionate about. Thank you so much, Terrie.
Thank you.